There's a will, there's a way in life. You get to be who you want to be. Don't let anyone say you can't be where you want to be, who you want to be. This is your life. Because regardless of what anyone says, something must be done.
Something must be done.
Creative queers, trans, non-binaries, people of color, divas, femmes, butches, punks, and a combination of these took over the Long Beach Main Library on November 26. Zine Queens, a zine fest hosted by Darcy Crash Distro, featured around 25 different zines with a common theme of identity, sexuality, and mental health. Zines, short for magazines or fanzines, are a type of self-published work produced by either one person or a small group. They mostly include photography, collages, drawings, short stories, poetry, comics, and more. People have been producing zines as early as the 1930s. It is popularly associated with the early punk scene and continues to serve as a cheap form of media to expose bands to the public. Alencito, owner of Darcy Crash Distro, started composing zines when he was 19 to express his thoughts on being a punk queer of color.
A lot of it was about like feeling like isolated, being like when I go to a show or anything, I'm like the only like queer person of color there. So a lot of it was that.
Alencito published his first zine called Not Your Gay BFF. He distributed it to his friends and sold it at punk shows for only $1 or $2. 4 years later, he says that people still approach him every now and then about his first zine.
I'd be at a show and someone would be like, "Hey, you're Alan, right? You wrote that zine." And I'm like, "Yeah." That meant so much to me when I read it.
Alencito started tabling at Zine Fest last year. However, he found the scenes to be very different than what he expected. He said that the other groups who participated had a greater focus on the appearance of the piece rather than the actual content. He found it intimidating because his zines looked more self-made.
There's always like the gay corner where it's just like 4 rows of tables, or it's like all the queer zinesters and that's it. Part of kind of my journey towards self-empowerment is to, again, create it, right?
As a result, Darcy Crash Distro was born. Alencito describes Darcy Josephine Crash, his alter ego, as a tough-ass punk girl with a fashion that kills and a heart made of bubblegum. She is a magical girl of color, a best friend, an older sister, and not your gay BFF. She's named after Darby Crash, a singer from the 1970s punk band, The Germs. Alencito held his first Zine Queens last May in a small venue in North Long Beach. He initially thought it would be small, populated with mostly his friends, but word traveled throughout the Long Beach LGBT community, turning it into a grand festival. The second Zine Queens was very similar to the original, 25 zines tabled and 4 punk bands performed. Alencito graduated from California State University, Long Beach with a bachelor's degree in psychology, and he works in domestic violence case management in San Pedro. He said that he plans to host more Zine Queen events in the future, hoping they get bigger and gayer as time proceeds.
Writing has like been proven to be a very therapeutic thing for a lot of people dealing like struggling with like mental health and all that. When you're like queer or trans, like you're more likely to face discrimination when like you're trying to publish something.
Yeah.
So if you can just do it yourself and then give it out to friends and sell it at shows and sell it at Zine Fest, like I think that's empowering.